One of the most frequently asked questions that I get as a professional landscape and travel photographer is, so what's the most essential lenses that you should have in your bag? Well, personally, I feel that there are three essential lenses that we should have as landscape and travel photographers. Now, I know there's four, but I'll come to that in a bit. Now, why both landscape and travel photography? Well, because that's my day-to-day role, and I can provide you with real-world data over my nearly 12 years of extensive traveling across the world in over 30 countries. So that's working as a professional, okay? So that is actually working as a professional landscape and travel photographer. Now, what's the best way of finding out the lenses that you use the most often? Well, in Adobe Lightroom, we can look at the metadata, and the metadata says to me that these are my most used lenses, these three here. What are they? This is the 24mm tilt shift, this is the 24 to 70 f2.8, and this is the 100 to 400mm. All excellent lenses, okay? Now, what you might say, well, don't you own several lenses? Yes, actually, there's a 16 to 35 that's filming this right now. Now, although I own several lenses, and for a lot of people, yes, it is a bit of a luxury, I personally always find that I'm using all of them at some point or another, because I strive to be absolutely very meticulous in my job, and I'm striving for the utmost quality in my job, and I'm using them all the time. I really am. So however, though, you can get away with just these three that I've mentioned here for landscape and travel photography. Now, some people I know might start to be asking, well, what about that so-called Holy Trinity of lenses? What are they, the Holy Trinity? If you don't know, it's 1635, which says filming this, 24 to 70mm, and the 70 to 200, which I do have an old f4 70 to 200. Now, yes, again, they are all useful, those focal lengths, but again, time and again, I found that these three lenses are the ones that I use the most. Now, each of them, as a bonus, can take filters as well. So these are 82mm, the 24 tilt shift and the 24 to 70 f2.8, and this is 77 on the 100 to 400. So why these three? Why not just two of them? Well, because as a professional, I found that the 24mm tilt shift has really come into its own when I'm out there doing my day-to-day job, certainly in the cityscapes, and it gives you a particular look to your photographs that's not really that easy to replicate. So being able to do things, for example, like vertical panoramas, pseudo panoramas with the tilt shift lens is amazing. So certainly I've done those in, for example, like Tokyo. We can get up high in what they call the observatories and the high-rise buildings that you can go up in. Now, yes, I know you can correct verticals in Adobe Lightroom or Adobe Photoshop, but seriously, once you've tried a tilt shift lens, I guarantee you that after you've hired this thing for 1 week, you will be saying to yourself, how do I buy one? How can I get the money to buy a tilt shift lens? Now, a lot of people use the tilt function, for example, to do those sort of miniaturization effects. I don't do that. I personally, the majority of the time, I'm using the shift function to do the majority of the work that I'm creating that goes into many different image libraries and for clients around the world. Now, being able to do, as I said, those panoramic images as well is another bonus. So that's, again, coming back to that, do think about that. So it is an absolute must for your camera bag, the 24-70. Now, when I look at my metadata for all of my images over the last several years, for example, these are the ones that have been used the most, time and time again, not just for architecture, but for landscape and portraiture. And that nicely brings us into the 24 to 70 f2.8. Now, this has long been considered the wedding photographer's lens. Why? Because it's so versatile. For Canon users, for example, it comes in f2.8 and f4. The f4 has image stabilization. I'm not sure about the others. In the new R system, the f2.8's got image stabilization as well, so it's become even more versatile. Now, having an f2.8 is absolutely invaluable as a travel photographer because of what it allows you to be able to do, doing those travel portraiture images and doing the landscape images all in one is a godsend. So you can do, as I said, a whole raft of things from landscape to travel to astrophotography to portraiture. So really, what isn't to like about having a 24 to 70 in your bag? Really, this is an absolute godsend. It really is. The aperture as well is fantastic, being able to open up, have a very wide aperture when you're in low light situations, for example, say like in a cathedral, you're not allowed to use a tripod, you have to up the ISO, the f2.8. If you're not too worried about depth of field, then this again is going to really help you. So being able to do a whole raft of things, a whole range of styles with this lens is just absolutely invaluable, and it's always going to be a game changer. Now lastly, I want to talk about the 100 to 400s. In a way, a lot of people think about this lens as just being sport and wildlife photography, and yes, it is sport and wildlife, but it can also be used for, again, landscape, travel, and also, if you're not aware of this, travel portraiture for using this lens. It is amazing what I've been able to do with this lens over the last 4 years. Now, since I got it back in 2017, it really pushed out very, very quickly the 70 to 200 that I've got, the f4. Now, I'd ideally love a 70 to 400, but most of the time I'm not losing that 30mm. I'm not missing it a lot. The 70, between the 70 and the 100. So for landscapes, you can start picking out details. You can start compressing things together. So for example, when I was in Patagonia in 2020, doing the grandiose mountains, those huge mountains that you get in the fjords where I was, the ability to compress the landscape together, to have the image stabilization when I'm on a moving ship was just absolutely invaluable, and I use that lens a heck of a lot. For architecture, being able to pick out the details, for example, in a cathedral, in a church, on columns, on capitals, and wherever it might be up in the roof, is again invaluable because it allows you to really get up in there to pick out those details. Cityscape wise, again, coming back to cityscapes, when I was in Tokyo, for example, in 2019 and 2018 as well, this has absolutely been a fantastic lens to get up on those rooftop observatories that you get across Japan, do panoramas, pick out details from the cityscapes, or even street level. I can think of the Capsule Hotel in Tokyo as an example. And then outside of that, there's also using it for travel portraiture. So I've used 100 to 400 to do travel portraiture. So for example, when I first started visiting Mongolia in 2019, I was in Mongolia for the Eagle Festival, the Narutz Eagle Festival. Then this lens became an absolute must when I visited Vietnam in 2019, photographing people on the markets. Again, this lens came in real handy for doing that travel portraiture. Now, yes, there's this. Now, I don't consider this as a lens. This is the 1.4 extender. What this is going to do is it's going to give you a little bit more reach with this 24mm tilt shift and this. So this becomes a 35mm, and this becomes this 140 to 560. That's a huge amount of reach. Okay, you've lost a stop of light when you add on a 1.4 extender. Does it really matter? It doesn't, honestly. So it's not adding a lot of extra weight at all to your setup. Now, I know people are going to say, you know, all this kit's expensive. Yes, it is. They are professional lenses. However, you don't have to buy your lenses brand new. So this is used, and this is used. So you can save money by buying your gear used. You don't have to buy new all the time. That's the only lens that I've got that's new. And then let's talk about the overall weight of this system here, plus the camera body, the 5D Mark IV, for example, that I've got. All of this 5D Mark IV is 4 kilos. That's not a lot at all. When you fly, like I do, a lot, and yes, in these times I'm still able to fly actually a lot, it basically comfortably fits in your airline carry-on limit, which is, for the majority of airlines, 7 kilos, ignoring budget airlines, by the way, but 7 kilos is probably the majority of airlines. I'm lucky actually with Air France, who I'm normally flying with, that it's 12. So I've actually got quite a bit of latitude there. So even if you add in, for example, your camera bag, all of these lenses here, your spare batteries, and a laptop to be traveling with, and a hard drive, for example, so you can back stuff up, you're still going to be well within your 7 kilo limit when you're traveling around in airlines, going through airports, etc. And you shouldn't have any problems with your carry-on luggage. Now there you go, that's my 3 essential lenses for landscape and travel photography. So let me know in the comments if you agree or not. I know there will be some people who agree and some people not with the decision here, but hey, there you go. So, until the next time, if you haven't subscribed, by the way, then do click on the subscribe button down there and click on the notification bell up there. See you again on the next vlog, wherever it might be, sometime, somewhere soon. Take it easy, folks. Goodbye.